We'll call the meeting to order. Nick, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Tompkins,
Here.
Mr. O'Reilly,
Here.
Ms. Paulkey,
Here.
Mr. Paschal's here, and Mr.
Paul Kappa is here.
And-
And Mike.
and Mr. Ebro.
Here.
All right, thank you. Nick, was the meeting appropriately noticed?
Jessica.
Yes, it was
Yes.
sent out to various media outlets, posted here at the utility, city hall, the library, and on the city hall website.
Okay, great. Public comment period. At this time, the commission president will recognize members of the public who've indicated a desire to address the commission. Upon recognition, persons may take up to 3 minutes to address the commission for stating their name and address. The commission may take action on emergency matters introduced by members of the public. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing none, move forward. Commissioner and staff comments. Commissioners, anything? Any staff comments?
Yeah, we have a number of them this evening. John, want to kick us off?
As you know, we have working with the contractor to remove lead surfaces on the private side. They were in town for a couple of weeks. They got 21 surfaces removed. So we have that done already, and they've done their site restoration for those 20 sites. One of the caveats in the contract, though, was we spread it over the course of 2 seasons, construction seasons, and they took advantage of that, so they were town for a couple of weeks here, so they could go do another community that needed to finish this year. They are planning on coming back for that first full week in November, and they've got 17 on their list to do that first week. So if they have a good week, they could have 17 more done. After that, it might get kind of dicey what the forecast looks like going forward. So we'll have to keep that in the back of our head. Any pavement that gets disturbed may or may not get replaced this year anymore at this point, depending on what temperatures do, whether it goes forward. So we'll have to just play it by ear.
And if I remember correctly, we had 3 locations initially that were challenging, and I think we've
Yes.
so down 2 challenging ones of the band. So moving in the right direction.
One operations, so September continued to be another kind of record-breaking September for us. We logged 113 hours of plant and over a total of 19 days where we were at the plant. Most of that, or really all of those run for the MISO markets, so just an economical, viable option for them. So even going back to August was a busy run month. We only had 104 hours and 13 days in August, so September actually went above and beyond where we were at in August. I think a lot of that could have just been the fact that it was, relatively speaking, a warm September. We did run the first 5 days of October, and since then it's kind of tailed off quite a bit. So the weather we've had, it seems like the market need hasn't been quite as high, but still kind of amazing how many hours we've logged so far this year.
So yeah, and I would add that wind has not been blowing as much as it has in past years, especially in August and September. Glue has a wind resource that I monitor, and there hasn't been as burning as much. So that plays into the market conditions. We also notice some transmission outages, constraints, and power flows across the state. And some of those are playing probably a factor in this as well. And then as you get into September and especially into October, you start to get into generator outages. A lot of the outages are done in this fall, spring. So it's taking resources out that are not available. And as Tony mentioned, the weather's warmer, so there's still electricity. So that's why another factor that's pushing us in to operate maybe more than we have in the past. So. Jessica?
All right. So I have a few updates. First, our fall edition of the Customer Connection newsletter went out last Monday. We emailed that out and sent that out to a little over 11,000 customers, and we will be highlighting different segments on social media throughout the month of October. And last week was Public Power Week, and we did several different activities to recognize Public Power Week. First, we kicked off Monday. We did a collaboration with locally owned Bigby, and we did a special Power Week energy drink with them, and they were kind enough to donate $1 from each sale, and we'll do a matching donation that will go to United Way's Nutrition on weekends. And then Tuesday was big senior bingo at the community center. We sponsored prizes for their bingo games. And Friday is always a fan favorite when our linemen bring the bucket truck for story time. And one of our linemen read a book to the kids, and then they all got to go out and stand in the bucket with their little plastic hard hats and take pictures and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And then also we held a heavy metal tour for Columbus student 8th graders as part of that event, and they got to do hands-on activities that were water and electric related, and got to ask lots of questions about what we do here at the utility. And then at the end of the month, we'll be hosting Marshfield schools graders for very similar program.
Busy week.
Yeah, it's good.
Two more things, just a note, with Mike being remote, policy dictates we change who's running the meeting, so it falls to the next most tenured individual, so that's why Paul's running, and then it goes, Paul's duties as secretary goes to the next tenured, so that's why there's the shift this evening. And then the other item, I just wanted, modification factor, workers' comp, so we did get our rating for 2026. Normally in the past, we've been 7.6 to 0.78, and if you remember, 1 is basically average. And if you're less than 1, that means they're having more injuries than average. Unfortunately, our 2026 number did elevate to 1.09. However, those are mostly due to those 2 injuries that we experienced in the mutual aid event. And once those claims associated with those injuries are closed, our worker insurance company, United Heartland, will work through the, I'm going to mess this word up, subrogation process, which is basically to go back on those parties for claims for all the amount of dollars that were lost, if you will. And if they're successful in that process, what will happen is they will recalculate our mod rating and provide us refunds to make us back to what we would have had those 2 situations. So that's all the updates for tonight.
Employee Service Awards.
Yes, tonight we recognize Nathan Brodka, Tyler Damian, and Levi Gage, all celebrating 5 years of service, and all 3 of them started on October 1st of 2020. Nathan is currently a journeyman lineman, and Tyler and Levi will, in the next few weeks, they have a few more hours that they need to complete on the job training as part of the program.
Next is election of officers. This is the start of our year, if you will, of operations from a commission standpoint. And so there are 2 offices that will be elected. The first is for president of the commission. So
I would nominate Mike Eberl for president of the Board Commission.
I'd second.
And Natasha would second it. So motion.
And you
Okay.
have to ask if there's
Okay, oh, darn. Are there any other nominations for president? Are there any other nominations for president? I gotta do this 3 times, right? Are there any other nominations for president? Hearing none. All those in favor of Mike as the president, we have to do a roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Ms.
That's right.
Tompkins.
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly.
Aye.
Ms. Paulkey.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Mr. Kaplan.
Aye,
Mr. Eberl.
it's unanimous. Congratulations, Mike. I wish you could jump through the TV and do the rest of this, but
It would be nice,
okay,
but you're doing great, Paul. Keep it up.
keep it up. Only 20 more items to go. Or it feels like it. Okay, the next is for secretary.
Can I nominate you?
Sure.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Any other nominations for secretary? Hearing none, call the roll call vote, please.
Ms. Tompkins.
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly.
Aye.
Ms. Paulkey.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Kaplan.
Aye.
Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
Mr. Capel is elected for next year's secretary, or current year's secretary. That concludes the election of officers. So now, next is job order 7506, Glue MU Generation Project. Nick?
So this is the job order for the combination Glue or Great Lakes Utilities and Marshfield Utilities Generation Project. This project is for the installation of approximately 150 megawatts of natural gas generation with fuel oil backup. The plant will be similar to the one that we currently own and operate by the wastewater treatment plant, characteristics as well. At this point, the ownership is looking to be a split between Marshfield and Glue, and Marshfield owning 30% and Glue at 70%. Obviously, there are contractual components that will come down the road where the ownership will have to be spelled out in the contract. So obviously that could change things slightly, but that's the general numbers at this point. The estimated project cost currently is $282.2 million, with Marshfield's share being $86.4 million. This project will help support local reliability, ensure that Marshfield and Glue's power costs remain near the lowest in the state for decades to come. It helps fill holes in our power supply capacity needs, both for Marshfield and Glue, and could support potential economic development in the area. Approval today allows the project to move forward with bidding and permitting. Through the process, updates will be provided to the commission, and additional approvals will be needed for the land, which we'll have to work with the city on, the ownership structure, which I mentioned, the operation and maintenance agreement that will need to put in place between Marshfield and Glue, and then I accidentally left this out of the memo, but there will be a bonding component to this process or project as well, and those again would need commission along with council approvals. So if approval is provided by the commission today, my plan is to then move forward with presenting this to the common council at their first meeting in November. And the Glue board met last week Wednesday and provided approval for the project to move forward already.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Mike to approve. Do I have a second? Second by Gabriel. Any discussion, questions for Nick? Go ahead, Natasha.
Just to clarify for both the public and the commission, 150 megawatts, how much does the one that we have right now generate?
The one we have now is its nameplate is 60 megawatts, so about 2.5 times as large.
And this wouldn't go all the time. Is this mostly capacity?
Yeah, I mean the main reason to build it is for capacity, but as far as an operational perspective, it's called a peaking plant. So what peaking plants do, you have 3 different types of plants. You have base load, intermediate, and peaking. Base load is a plant that's on pretty much 24/7 and 365. Intermediate's on a considerable amount of time, maybe 50 or 60 or 70% of the time, if you will. And then peaking is filling in the gaps. So you can think about it like when we get those hot spots, generally when we've seen our power plant run. It also could be, we're seeing that with the addition of renewables, you get that afternoon peak when the wind is starting to, maybe the wind's not blowing and the solar's coming offline, but people are coming home while businesses are still working. So there's an hour or two overlap there where additional capacity or energy is needed. So that's what this type of plant would run. So a few hundred, I think we're projecting a few hundred hours a year at most.
And do we currently use energy created by another peaking plant that we buy on the market?
Well, the market, we have Marshfield itself has a wholesale agreement with Wisconsin Public Service. They provide us our needs, and the transmission grid, the network, if you will, the electric grid is interconnected just like the interstate system is. So there isn't a particular plant that we can point to that says it's providing us. It's all plants working together to make sure everyone's lights turn on.
And then lastly, if we are paying 30%, but we're also a part of Glue, will we also be required to pay money as a member of Glue?
To be determined. I think going into it, the way I'm envisioning it, the structure would be we would just maintain 30, and the existing Glue members would take on the 70. We wouldn't cut in an additional piece out of the 70.
And to piggyback on what she just asked, do we generate then how much of the profit from that? Do we generate 30% of the profit or?
So the generator itself provides us two tangible things. One is capacity, and I won't get into all the glory details of capacity, but essentially it's something we need to have on an annual basis, and that's going to help us. Basically, that cost that we'll pay for the unit over the life of it will provide us the capacity rating that helps meet MISO requirements. So that part's pretty straightforward, and we'll get 30% of the capacity rating of the unit, if you will. On the energy side, like Tony mentioned, the plant runs, let's say it runs today, then we would be responsible for 30% of the cost, but also 30% of the revenue. And that 30, when that's vetted out, it's obviously been very profitable to our customers. And just like today and how that flows back to our customers, any profit from the plant would do the same thing. It would run back through our wholesale rates to support our customers.
I take that as approval.
Time's up. I can't touch anything.
Any other questions for Nick? Oh, Gabriel?
In terms of the financing for this, has there been any conversations about how this can be broken out or, planned or anything like that? I'm assuming it would be over years or something.
Yeah, I think the overall cost, we'll be looking at long-term bonds, either 20 or potentially 30-year bonds if we can, just to spread the cost out. And the thought process with longer term is obviously you're paying for that debt a little bit longer, but the upside is the assets where we expect it to last 40 years or more, so you're paying it across closer to the asset life. Obviously, we're talking about a long-term project here. This is going to take around 5 years to go from today to the point where it's completely operational. Unfortunately, along the way, as you procure some of the material and the equipment that are needed, we're going to need to provide down payments. So we're going to have to work. Part of the initial cost is a financial consultant to help us kind of work through that. There might be some opportunity to do short-term borrowing, might be an option. Another piece is if you look at our cash status, we have about there are 4 large holdings that we have that are coming due in February and March, each at $1 million. So that'll provide us $4 million of cash. And then we have some other smaller CDs that are coming due in the early part of next year. And we may be able to use some of our cash to at least do some of the initial cost, if you will, for holding our spot in line with equipment. So a lot of many options, and it's we'll work through that process with the advisor.
Natasha?
So for, if any citizens were to ask us about this project, if they, start to hear about it, are there any concerns about the firing of this natural gas as far as air pollution or any type of water pollution? I know the DNR is going to regulate it, but is there anything that we'd be concerned about because it's a 2.5 more than what we have right now?
No, all the same regulations would apply regardless of the size of the plant. We'll have to have storm management plans. We'll have to, the DNR will issue an air permit from the EPA, just similar to the one that we currently have, that'll have requirements and restrictions and reporting requirements and auditing, things that we deal with on a normal day-to-day basis. We still are stewards of the land. We need to make sure that we don't do anything that harms the land in any way. There'll be requirements through the construction activities and how you're managing the silt fencing to make sure there's no runoff. Obviously, if there's wetlands that come back from delineation, we'll have to make sure those are managed and not impacted through the process as well.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote.
Ms.
Yeah.
Tompkins?
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly?
Aye.
Ms. Halky?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Mr. Capello?
Aye.
Mr. Ebro?
I
Okay. Motion carries unanimously, so we approve to move forward with that and present to council, he said, on November 11th.
Yes.
Great. Okay, KPI update. This is the quarterly update of the KPIs.
Yep, so it's similar to previous quarters. I think we added another quarter, if you will. As you can see, things are continuing to trend in a good direction, or remaining positive, I should say. Um, I think one thing that I've gleaned from the numbers, if you will, and the fact which means things are operating are good, but I think it's what you don't see on the backside is I think it's provided an additional level of scrutiny, an additional level of monitoring from our staff, in these various areas. I know in the office team, when it comes to billing errors, they do a lot of talk within their department, discussions about, how they're doing and making process improvements where they can to ensure that we're being as accurate as we can. So, like I said, overall, things are trending well and welcome any questions you might have.
Any questions, Natasha?
So, 2024 for the water rate of return, so we got that's where the red is.
Yeah.
And is that because of the 2022 rate case that it's overdue, or?
No, that, so if you remember, we did the rate case in '24 when it went into effect earlier this year. We changed the public fire protection around. I think that was May 1st or June 1st, Jen?
One of those, yeah.
Yeah.
May first, they
Yeah, so
effective May first on the June bills.
Yeah, so the rate case went into effect. That red is really the major component of that, if you remember, is we originally had expected the filter sand replacement at the water treatment facility, about $700,000 to be a capital. That turned into an operation expense, so that reduces our net income, and that income is part of the rate of return calculation. So it caused it to be, if you would exclude that number would be where it should be. So it's kind of a one-time type of unique situation.
And then in the 2026 budget, looks like the projected rate of return is gonna be like 6.98 or something, so it's sort of bouncing back from that?
Yeah, it's bouncing back. What happens is, two things here. One, on the rate cases. So you go in for a rate case and you get a new benchmark rate of return. And I think that one right now, water is at 6%. Or is it 6?
Yes, sir.
6, sorry, I got a lot of numbers in my head. So 6%. So you go in for a rate case the first year. So we just had the rate case that went into effect here this year. I would expect our rate of return isn't going to hit 6. It's going to get closer to 6, maybe in the 5s. And then what'll happen is the first full year after will be in the 6 range, and then every year after that, you'll slowly see that rate of return decrease. The budget, part of the issue with the budget is the capital side of it, and some of the road projects that are we'll get to the budget, but we're not. Rate of return is your net income divided by your plant base, and if your plant base gets smaller, that makes your rate of return look bigger. And next year, our plant base is not gonna increase as much because we're not gonna do as many road projects because the city moved the the Fifth Street project to 2027. So that's having an impact that makes it look a little bit better than what it really is, or what it would be on a normal year-to-year basis.
Anything else on the KPIs? All right. Next item is November, December, January commission meeting dates.
Yeah, so the normal meeting date, as you know, is the second Monday of each month. Unfortunately, due to various reasons, we have some travel conflicts. There's some other meetings that are outside of our control and conferences. We have conflicts the next 3 months, and we're asking the commission to consider moving all 3 of them essentially back 1 week. So still Monday at 4 o'clock, but instead of the second Monday, it would be the third Monday.
Any questions on that? Oh, go ahead.
Just a comment that January 19th is a holiday. I don't know if it's maybe it's a federal holiday, but kids aren't in school. So sometimes that 3-day weekend might affect any commission members with kids who want to be in Marshfield.
It's Martin Luther King Day.
Is it Martin Luther King Day? And then, so that's just a comment. And then just wondering if that joint action conference is something where commission members could take courses or learn? Is that something where it's Is it for the commission or is it for other?
I would say generally it's been more like at a staff level focus than it is a commissioner, but I mean, we can, I don't believe the agenda's been posted yet, but once it is, we can
I
definitely
just
share
thought
it.
get it on people's calendars if
Yeah.
it was. So.
Yes. I, to your comment about January, I don't know. We're open for business that day, so I don't know if it really impacts the ability to have it on that date, but obviously if there's other reasons. We're open to doing business, so I think then we would, if it was like Thanksgiving where we're closed, then I would say obviously you wouldn't schedule a meeting on that day.
So are you
This
looking
meeting-
for action?
I am, yes, I'm, yeah, if the commission is so inclined.
So I hear a motion to approve the changing those 3 meetings as noted to November 17th, December 15th, and January 19th.
I would move to change those meeting dates.
Okay, moved by Natasha, and second, Gabriel.
Second one.
Okay, any discussion, further discussion on this? Not, can you do the roll call, please?
Ms. Tompkins,
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly,
Aye.
Ms. Balky,
Aye.
I'll vote aye, Mr. Tadpole,
Aye,
and Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
great, so we'll change those 3 months. Set to go. Next item, first review of the capital budget.
Yes,
Me?
yep, turn over to
Yeah.
Patty.
The capital budget is the same format as in past years with the summary of capital additions history on page 2. And I guess as I go through, I'll be using the actual page numbers from the budget, not if you're looking at the full document, only those pages. So the history is on page 2, and this shows the actual by department as well as the budget by department going back to 2022. The current total capital budget for 2026 is 4.79 million. At the bottom of the summary page, there are graphs of the capital additions for these years, as well as the depreciation built into our rates, compared to the budgeted capital additions for 26. Depreciation expense, which is a non-cash expense, is built into our rates, and it's used to fund capital projects for the utilities. Moving on, pages 3 through 6 have the details for each utility fund. One thing to note is since the budgets were distributed, we learned that the network switch project listed under computer equipment is expected to come in about 25 to 35,000 less than what's currently listed. So we'll update that along with any other changes for the November meeting presentation. On page 7, it shows that we will not be issuing any revenue bonds in 26 to finance capital projects. And then page 8 shows the forecasted major projects to 2031, and then also potential major projects listed at the bottom. We will present, as I stated, we will present again in November for your review and potential approval.
Just a couple comments. I think on the electric budget, generally it's meeting the metrics or the targets that we have. A couple things that are a little bit unique. If you remember last year, you approved some substation projects during the year that got put into the budget. This year, it's in the budget ahead of time. The Bank 3 regulators and some bypass switches and some current transformers and potential transformers at Hume Sub for about around $500,000. In the budget, you'll note that we have the cost, if you will, of those area lights and the street lights. But there is a note as far as the amount of expected grants and incentives. So we did use that with targets on the electric one. And then on the water one, this is one that gets a little tricky. So we're over our target. Our target is 1.5. We're at almost 1.7. I mentioned earlier we have so the original plan was for 5th Street to be done next year in combination with the city's project. The city had to move that project into 2027, so that created some shifting in fund, which should make us under budget. But then the competing component is the commission's, struggling for the word here, with basically the 200 lead services that you want to see replaced at 5,000 apiece. You're up, we get some value in some of the projects, but you're talking $1,800,000 in lead service replacements, which then pushes us back up. So I think while I don't like us seeing over budget component, I think we're okay today, and obviously Patty and her team will do the cash flow analysis, and that'll be presented next month, and we can really truly see how it's going to impact the overall cash standing for the water utility. And then next year, when we do the 2027 budget, we'll not only have the Fifth Street Road project, but we'll also have the Vine Street Road project. So those are going to be some pretty large capital projects, well over, I think, about a $1.2 million, if I remember correctly, between the two of them. So quite a bit of cost, but a lot of main that's going to be replaced, aging main that needs to be upsized and has main break history. So that's all the comments I have on the capital budget.
Any other questions or comments, Natasha?
Under potential major projects on page 8 for the electric utility, there's a new substation. Is that in relation to the proposed generation project?
Those at the bottom, the new sub and transformer and water well and transmission are just reference. We should probably maybe put that there. Those are actually just potential major projects. Those are just reference dollar amounts. So for conversation purposes, if we were to talk about a new substation for whatever reason, or a new well, so we kind of have it as a placeholder on a document somewhere. It's not actually there isn't a needed one, but obviously we could have a well that fails, tomorrow, unfortunately. Or if there was a large development, maybe a substation would be needed, just to give us a general sense of what that cost would be.
Other questions or comments?
I should note, though, that the generator project will require a substation to be built in relationship to the generator.
Anything else on the capital budget?
Would that be within 5 years then? Before it
Yeah, that would all be part of that project scope.
opened? Okay.
With the generator project, we have to do the state filing, but we also have to do a generation interconnect filing with MISO. And as part of their review, they'll mission company to figure out how it'll interconnect. And then ATC, American Transmission Company, will be responsible for transmission lines and substation. We'll have to pay for it, but they will install it and then own and operate it afterwards. But that'll all be part of that project.
Okay, anything else on capital? To be continued next month when
Yes, yep.
second
Second reading.
reading comes back. Great. Okay. Bucket truck 503 replacement.
Yeah.
If you want, great.
Sure. Okay, sorry, I forgot to talk with Tony on this one, but in the capital budget that you just saw, the draft, this truck replacement was included in that. Unfortunately, with lead times on trucks, if we wait till the approval, we'll have to then get a 2027 truck, which will see a price increase, and then we won't see it till 2027. But if you're willing to provide a pre-approval tonight, we can go through the process tomorrow to get a place in the queue, if you will, and we'll be able to secure 2026 pricing along with 2026 delivery of the vehicle.
Either of you.
What I was gonna ask is, would the old truck get sold then?
Yes. Yeah, we use the state auction service that a lot of municipalities use for Wisconsin Surplus, I believe it's called. It's a very good online platform that a lot of municipalities and utilities and the like use for school districts, I think, as well.
Is that reflected in the cost, or that would just be put back once we got that, like the estimate of sale price?
Yeah, the price you see here is the total purchase price. I don't really have an estimate because unfortunately with this type of vehicle, it's just the right timing, the right counterparty's looking for it, so I don't have a good estimate that way.
Okay.
As far as how it impacts, it gets into depreciation and other things when we sell a vehicle. I don't know. Thoughts on that?
Decrease from plan
Yeah.
and depreciation.
but it doesn't like offset the new vehicle's cost on the books. That new vehicle will still be placed on, and then just, as she mentioned, it impacts the overall plant value and reduces it by the amount we sell it for.
I was just wondering about the bidding process because you only got a quote from one of the three.
We reached out to all three. The other two just did not provide quotes. Unfortunately, in the bucket truck world, there is like a lot of things nowadays. They have so much demand that they're not even a point to they want to give us a quote. Unfortunately, the tariffs have been something that's an impactful thing out there as well. And to be honest with you, utility sales, we've used them quite a bit, and they know our preferred layout design. We've got a good relationship with them, and they're the preferred provider. So.
We need a motion then to approve the, how should we word that, Nick?
A motion to approve the 503 bucket truck replacement.
There we go.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
That's second.
special, and Tasha for a second. Any other comments or questions? If not, will you do the roll call?
Ms. Tompkins.
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly.
Aye.
Ms. Falk.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Mr. Kapla.
Aye.
And Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
Motion passes. Forward. Next item, first review of the operations and management, and maintenance budget, excuse me.
All right, the O&M budget also has the same format as prior years. For each utility, the O&M budget shows the income statement first and then more detailed pages after that. The income statement includes 2022 actual through the 2026 budget, and also the calculated rate of return versus the authorized rate of return and the debt service coverage. The income statement also has a couple graphs at the bottom. The first one shows operating expenses that were budgeted compared to what was in the previous rate case and then adjusted for inflation. Also, there's a graph that shows the actual rate of return compared to the authorized. I won't go through all the individual detailed pages, but a couple things to note. The 2026 operating expenses were developed based on the average of 23-24 and the annualized 2025 with an inflation factor of 2.7% applied to the average, which that percentage comes from the PSC. We request that from them. Managers reviewed the 2026 budget amounts and made adjustments as needed for known O&M projects. Page 24 shows a list of some of those major or special projects by account. There are no assumed rate increases included in the budget for 26. Also, currently most O&M costs are allocated between electric and water funds. After discussion with the auditors, we've been reviewing expense allocations to ensure that expenses are distributed appropriately between all the benefiting funds, including communications. So our goal is to have updated allocations incorporated into the budget for the November meeting when you review and potentially approve. I did want to note also, because Nick was talking about the water, and then you were asking about the higher rate of return. Another piece of that is the depreciation expense tied to the main replacement fund, because we have funds we are not spending, then we are not, or I should say depreciation expense is lower, which then increases our operating income, which then also increases rate of return. So I wanted to note that also. And then the last section after each of the funds is the O&M business plan, which is written description of operating expenses.
So on that depreciation, that 580 that we get accelerated through our rates that have to go for main replacements, we try to spend that 580 every year, but because of those projects shuffling around, a majority of that 580 is gonna get shoveled into 2027, so that it shows up as additional income in 26, which then helps increase the rate of return. She said that before when I was stumbling through it.
No, well, that's why I noted it now.
Yes. Thank you.
Any questions on the first reading of the O&M budget? If not, we look forward to the November presentation. Next is job orders.
None for approval this evening.
Bills and payroll.
Bills have been reviewed and certified good for payment.
Do I have a motion to approve the bills and payroll payments?
I will.
Gabriel,
Second.
Mike, any discussion? You take roll call, please.
Ms. Tompkins,
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly,
Aye.
Ms. Falke,
Aye.
I'll vote aye, Mr. Kapla,
Aye.
and Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
Motion's approved, bills are approved to be paid. Previous meeting minutes. Any comments or questions on those? We have a motion to approve the minutes as stated.
I move to approve the minutes from the September 8th meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, Natasha and Gabriel. And we gotta do it again.
Ms. Tompkins,
Aye.
Mr. O'Reilly,
Aye.
Ms. Falke,
Aye.
I'll vote aye, Mr. Kapla,
Aye.
and Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
Motion is approved, minutes are approved. Okay, we have financial reports.
Right, included this month are the August financials and the September cash reports. Okay, any questions?
Any questions? Okay, that's for information only, so we're good to go on that. Next, we need approval to go into closed session per Wisconsin State Statutes 1985 L and E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session for the purpose of reviewing Marshfield Utilities wholesale power contract. Do I have a motion to approve going into closed session by Gabriel?
Second.
Mr. O'Reilly, a second. I know we gotta do a roll call again, so
Ms. Tompkins,
you're getting good at this.
Mr. O'Reilly,
Aye.
Ms. Falke,
Aye.
I'll vote aye, Mr. Kapla,
Aye.
and Mr. Ebro.
Aye.
Motion is approved. We are now in closed session.